You will be hearing from industry-leading speakers from top health tech companies. You'll be hearing practical content that you can implement to your workflow today. Instant access to all the content on November 5th, by the way. We'll provide links for you to access that. You'll have unlimited access for viewing and downloading the content as well. This will be relevant and timely information for the growth-minded owners and managers of the health tech and the healthcare industry.
Not only we help to develop the digital products, but we also help companies with their product management, compliance, product development, UX, certification. We also do the business consulting, and we even provide the bridge investment and guidance to the health tech startups to bring them to the next level. There are sort of many different things are in the mix, and naturally we hold quite many conversations with founders and product owners in this area. And when we talk to them, many of them are actually concerned where the market is heading to, how my product is going to fit into the market that is going to be there in the year, how those changes are going to affect me, what are going to be the main changes that I should expect. And even though we are knowledgeable about the market, we know what's happening there, but we are not the single source of truth, obviously. And I have always been seeking to make some networking, to collect some other opinions, to hear additional thoughts from other people, and share it, of course, with our community of the companies that we are working with. And so with marketing team, actually, we once time sat down and thought about how is possible to gather all of those opinions, how to create some sort of this knowledge sharing platform so that we can feed all this information and all of this good stuff, opinions from the market influencers, from the professionals to our community that we are supporting, that we're talking to. And that's how this idea of the summit was born. So the global digital health market size has actually exceeded $142 billion in year 2020. And it is actually estimated to grow at over 17.4% year over year between years 2021 and 2027. Having said that, the 2027 value projection, again, for the global digital health market, is actually $427 billion, according to some of the sources. According to the others that are a bit more optimistic, I'm seeing the numbers that analysts are putting the value of over 600 billion by the year 2027. And outlook into the next year on the top challenges that health tech market is going to face. And again, it's not based on any objective source of the information, any surveys or anything. It's I'm delivering it as my personal opinion, put it this way. So what we're going to observe, the challenges that health tech innovators are going to face during the next year. I think number one is the regulatory risks and limitations. So this is something that has been there, and this problem that has been there for some time, and it will continue to be there. It's not a transitory issue. It's a permanent issue that is with us to stay. And this fight between the innovators and conservative, inert, inefficient U.S. healthcare system, it will continue. So we all know about it, and it's not going anywhere. It's actually, all of this is fueled by this never-ending debate and conversations. So still, this question is kind of bothering lots of minds. But the healthcare, whether it's a business or it's a social responsibility. So, and those because if it's a business, there are one goals, and if it's a social responsibility, it has totally different goals. The second problem, I think, that we are going to observe and see, and the challenge, I would say, not a problem, but it's a challenge for the health tech players, is the market saturation. It's been there for some time as the health tech industry is actually growing, and market saturation actually will bring challenges both to the newcomers and to the existing market players. It is easier than ever to start a company and receive funding. The timing is actually great. The opportunities, possibilities are there, and many new entrants are there into this market, and not just entrants with just one founder with no backing, but there are more and a lot of different players from the other industries are trying to enter this health tech market. And what I definitely know is that many health tech players will face increasingly fierce competition in this market during the next year. Now, the third, I think, big trend, and not the trend, but big challenge that is going to be there and will continue, already posing and will continue posing a threat to all of the product development, is the labor shortage. We saw it happening in many industries all across the globe, actually. And it is also affecting significantly the health tech market. And it's affecting the product development in health tech, the sales, marketing, support activities, pretty much everything. This increasing VC funding in all industries, it created a stunning demand for the tech professionals globally, everywhere. We're not only talking about the US, we're also talking about the old traditional outsourcing locations in Europe as well, everywhere. And I think this labor shortage, especially professional in the professional area, is here with us to stay for some time, and it's not slowing down. And as long as until we will see VCs pouring additional money into the tech markets, we will see this problem persisting for some time. So health tech feels it a lot, and feels it in absolutely the same in the same way as other tech industries. And it will health tech founders and startups and other businesses in health tech will have to fight to get their best people into their teams. And we all know that without a good team, you cannot make a good product. So that's going to be one of the center challenges. And actually, I know about this problem probably like anyone else, because what we do the software development for and many other services around startups and mid-sized enterprise businesses. So we work with people. We know how difficult it became to find good talent.
Emerging technologies are currently complementing our existing technologies that we've been deploying in healthcare for more than 10 years. I think we've also noticed a massive increase in advocacy for digital ethics. And I hope that over the next few years, we'll also see a transition not only from increased advocacy, but also towards being able to implement proactive digital ethics programs. Because what we've noticed over the last few years is that if we do not have proactive digital ethics programs, unfortunately, then we suffer the consequences later on by just deploying technologies at a fast pace. As you all know, cybersecurity has been on the agenda of numerous healthcare executives, and it is predicted to be the #1 concern from many surveys that have been published by top consulting firms. So again, digital ethics and cybersecurity should be something proactively thought for and planned for. And then I also strongly recommend that when we do deploy these wonderful proactive programs, you have a plan for sustaining them long term. The other global ecosystem trend that we see is a tremendous effort from international organizations towards finding higher interoperability amongst current digital technologies. We still have a lot of silos, and although each organization or market or country or region is trying to do their best to keep pace with the latest innovations and advancements in science and technology, we have massive challenges to overcome when we think about interoperability amongst all these emerging technologies. There are experts that believe that at one point we might see a segregation of the Internet of Medicine and Internet of Bodies, because all the wearables and all the implants and other devices we're using are generating healthcare data that at one point will need to be managed very carefully. As we mentioned before, smart precision medicine solutions can also redesign various elements of healthcare, and having smart hospitals, smart pharmacies, smart nursing homes, smart home healthcare will be probably something that our future generations will consider state of the art. We see a huge integration between healthcare and financial industry. So the smart cities of the future will have also smart fintech embedded into our ecosystem.
And so we have to lower our barriers, and we have to be open to taking on new tools, taking on new technology. And that's one of the biggest barriers. If you look at, I think it's more than half of people have an issue with taking on a new technology, no matter what it is. They just don't take it. It doesn't matter if it's a very clear sign if it's going to make your life easier. There's this barrier to saying, I want to incorporate technology into my life. I've been doing it this way for so long. Or how do we know who we should involve when technology is a part of an organization, or we're trying to incorporate this into our business? What I tell people is there's a RACI matrix. I don't know if you've ever, a lot of times people go to MBA or their MBA school and they see that a RACI matrix example. I can send you a template of it that I've just kind of made and sent to people when they ask for it. But what a RACI matrix does is that you have your tasks on one side, and then you have the people responsible for each task on the top of the matrix. The tasks on your on one side also have the technologies and the things that you're using to accomplish those tasks. You very easily, and it's called RACI because you put, who's responsible, who's accountable, who is who's support person for this technology or these tasks. And so that's a way where I love using RACI matrices when you're doing technology exercises and how you're incorporating tech, because one of the big things is that, okay, we're doing this. That's kind of a way of almost document what I told you. Here's the goal, here's the to-do, and here's the technology we're using. And then on top, here's who is involved and responsible for it. And we're marking the people, how they're involved and who's supporting that, who's driving that technology, and who's ultimately supervising it and holding it accountable.
You are in medical devices or IoT, or you have a digital integration into another product, you may not have seen quite the acceleration as you would have had with something like telehealth or remote monitoring, for instance. So we are seeing more within Swan, more deals, larger deals. We have more angels. So I mentioned that we are one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing, social impact-led angel network in the United States. And as a result, we've doubled our number of angels over the last year, and we'll probably continue that trend into the foreseeable future. And as a result, you can see that our dollar value and our number of entities is continuing to pace along with the industry standard in early stage investing. Okay, so here's what to emphasize if you are currently entering the market environment for your first fundraise. We need to talk about how you win on your risks. So many times you have a fantastic company, you have a fantastic idea, you are world-breakingly clever, and I mean that genuinely, you are, and the investors recognize that. That's not the problem. We want to know how you're going to win on these risks, because there's always risks in the market. We want to know how you make decisions and how you're evaluating a moving landscape, because it is always changing. We want to know how you're going to work with your team. How are you going to make decisions? How are you going to handle friction? Do you have rules in which you understand commonly, this is how we're going to say, you know what, this is a bad decision. You made a huge mistake with this. That's okay. We have new information now, and this is how we're going to move forward. Your investors want to know how you engage, and they want to know how you're going to fit for them. You're not just a vehicle for money, you're a lot more than that. So showing that is very critical. This is the one rule: persevere unrelentingly towards your goal. You need to be flexible. I've mentioned a couple of times thinking about your pivot points, your risk, where your different permutations may be, because the company you have now is certainly not the company that you'll have in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Maybe you've exited, maybe you've added new products, maybe you've fired half of your team and hired a new one with completely different skills. And maybe it's wildly successful, maybe it's a completely different venture. Everything changes, and that is okay. That is part of your story. That is part of the narrative you build in with investors, because if you persevere, you will continue to be able to refine what success looks like, how you're going to get there. You will get more information, and that will continue to help you uplift their portfolio and be that consistent, reliable force of, hey, man, all of us get knocked down sometimes. A pandemic comes out, something changes, we need to renegotiate prices, reimbursement just fell through for us. All of these things happen. How you gauge them, how you build out your decisions is very critical. Flexibility is not considered a weakness in this world. Knowing how you're going to get there and being resilient along the way is the practice that is so, so critical. So think about being flexible, think about your risks, acknowledge them, build out decision-making criteria internally and externally, how you will share this, and show up, show your work, lean in.
Different businesses, different organizations, and different needs. Process automation is great in theory. It is the way of the future, 100%. But doing it mindfully, I think, is very important. You want to make sure that you have good synergy with your marketing team, because marketing is going to be what attracts anybody. And if you overdo it on the process automation with marketing, I've found it really is a big turnoff to consumers. So making sure you have you're mindful in your approach to automating anything on the marketing side is a big one. I would say less is more always. I think it's good to build everything you think you need and then build with the intention of refining, getting feedback and understanding what is really necessary in terms of automation. You might think that there's 8 steps of automation in a care system or process flow, and come to find that only 2 are actually needed, because the remaining are actually flooding people with notifications or duplication of efforts if it's already being done manually. You find that less is more pretty quickly with process automation. You need to make sure that your personnel is trained properly to handle the automation, to maintain that human touch that I've been speaking about, and can navigate your systems internally to then face the external and not look like an idiot, to be frank. So, a good example of this might be an autoresponder for an intake form, and mindfully building your whatever marketing team you're working with, mindfully building with them to implement an autoresponder instead of a full chain of automation. That autoresponder might say, hey, our team will be in touch within 24 hours. And then your personnel is trained to not only access, get notified and access that information, but to follow up within the 24 hours, like you promised, and to do it within a human way. So integrating, all levels of intake and automation, it becomes very important, and remaining mindful about the less is more into your personnel training is vital. And then once you've built and refined and trained your personnel and gotten feedback, then you can start doing some really cool things with notifications and optimizations, different integrations. There's so much happening in the SaaS world. I'm trying to wrap my head around it still. There's just so many great services right at your fingertips, and if you build it, it can do some pretty cool stuff. So. But that gets into the next level of process automation, and a lot of this actually is maybe a little bit higher level than what you need at the individual or group practice kind of operation. But I do see in the software world how incredible some of this stuff is in terms of efficiencies and reducing burdens. clinical admin burdens are right in that conversation on the provider side. So just like I continue to kind of drive home, it needs to be integrative, understand what it is, how it can serve your business, build it in theory, but then remember it's going to need to be refined to function in practice. And then making sure your personnel is trained and equipped to operate within, and then you get into the more fun high level stuff in terms of optimizations and integrations, and what's the next tool out there that I can plug into this, because it might help make this automation and experience even better. So this is just kind of a hopeful vision for the future in U.S. healthcare. Collective goals that I think we can all get behind. I'm hoping to see more of an advancement in consumer education in this upcoming year. I think it's at the forefront of everybody's mind, and everybody is pretty open to it post-COVID, needing to focus more on just being educated and taking better care of ourselves. And beyond that, I think with momentum in the consumer education realm, I think we can really reshape the landscape of care, focusing more on the primary side, connecting people with telehealth, and getting ahead of things before it's a problem. That is just such a need, and can fix so many things that we end up beating ourselves up over down the line in terms of tertiary care and retroactively chasing symptoms. We gotta start integrating this stuff. And while we have amazing acute care, amazing emergency care, amazing infrastructure, and some really sophisticated devices that have been allowed within the current system, I think it's going to be really important to shift it back here towards primary care and keeping people healthy, educating the consumer, and using telehealth mindfully, process automation mindfully, digital experience, enhanced digital experiences to just shift this whole thing, because there's definitely progress that needs to be made. So.